Good morning and welcome. Thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Whitney Issik and I'm the Associate Minister for the Status of Women. I'm very happy to be here today to host today's announcement. Before we begin, I'll just take a few moments to share the order of events with you. First, we'll hear from Minister Schulz and Jennifer Sissons, the owner and director of this preschool. After the speaking portion of the event, media will be able to ask questions and conduct interviews. And so, without further delay, I'd like to begin by welcoming Honourable Rebecca Schulz, Minister of Children's Services, to the podium.
All right, thank you, Minister Issik, and good morning, everybody. Thank you so much to Jennifer Sissons, the co-owner and director of A Child's First Preschool, for having us here today. I also want to thank Dina Atoni Batistessa, Tristan Katz, and Melanie Nickel from the Alberta Preschool Advocacy Association as well for joining us today. With more than 5 million Albertans vaccinated, our province is open not only for summer, but for good. Businesses are reopening, Albertans are getting back to work, the economy is starting to bounce back, and things are looking up. These are positive signs for us here in Alberta. But I do know the last year and a half has been hard, especially for parents and families. Navigating a pandemic, economic uncertainty, balancing work, childcare, remote learning, and sometimes dealing with changes in their own jobs. As we look ahead, childcare is without a doubt a key part of Alberta's economic recovery, and we hear more and more that working parents are looking for responsive, flexible, and accessible early learning and childcare programs. We also know that affordability is a barrier for some families. Last week, we announced the renewal of childcare funding agreements with the federal government to invest more than $100 million in additional funding in childcare here in Alberta next year, and that's in addition to the nearly $400 million the province invests already. Today, we're happy to provide more details on two key pieces of those investments. First, we're increasing subsidy availability to families with household incomes of up to $90,000. This is up from $75,000 right now so that more parents are supported as they get back to work or school and ultimately drive our economic recovery. The best part, these supports are available in any space of parents' choosing. And choice is absolutely something we've heard a lot about, that parents make a variety of decisions when it comes to early learning and childcare, especially now as we come out of the pandemic and parents might be working part-time or working from home. I'd also add, through the Child and Youth Wellbeing Review that I am co-chairing with MLA Jones from Calgary Southeast, that we know early learning opportunities are important for children's social, emotional, cognitive, and physical development, especially as we come out of the last year and a half. That's why we're leveling the playing field for preschools and the parents who use them. We're expanding eligibility for subsidy and educator wage supports to licensed preschools right across Alberta. This means lower and middle income parents who choose preschool will now pay less than half of what they paid in fees before. On top of that, we know early childhood educators are key to high quality programs, and we know some operators offer both preschool, childcare, and out of school programs, which is why we're extending these wage top-ups for early childhood educators in preschools as well. These investments build on the subsidy increase to support full day out of school care for the summer months of July and August. And in the early days of the pandemic, childcare operators, preschool operators, out-of-school operators had to deal with non-stop challenges like closures, isolation, and staffing issues. But you were resilient. They stayed open, providing safe, high-quality care to the kids throughout the pandemic. So I just want to start by saying thank you. Thank you to the staff and operators and early childhood educators right across Alberta for your courage and your dedication to supporting children and families. You made a huge difference in the lives of the parents and children you serve. And this is just the first step in our long-term strategy. We are still in discussions with the federal government about the early learning and childcare plan. We're negotiating details of that plan that is right for Alberta, a plan that helps our kids and our economy grow and which aligns with the unique needs and priorities of Alberta operators and Alberta families. We'll have more to say about that in the coming weeks. And with that, I'll turn the podium over to Jennifer Sissons. She will have more to say about how this funding will benefit working parents and our economy. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Schulz. My name is Jennifer Sissons. I'm the co-owner and co-director of A Child First Preschools and Out of School Care. Thank you all for being here today, and it's my honor to welcome you to our preschool. We are thrilled with this announcement. Today is a great day for preschool educators and parents in Alberta. Preschool educators work hard every day to support children and their early childhood education. Preschool programs are now recognized as another venue for high-quality childcare. Our educators will receive the same wage top-ups as daycares, out-of-school care programs, and other licensed programs. This will make a huge difference for preschools like ours who strive to maintain their incredible staff and to attract more highly trained educators to preschools across Alberta so that we can meet the needs of families in our communities. I'm also overjoyed for the reintroduction of the Preschool Subsidy and for all of our parents who are now able to receive funding, making all the difference in being able to afford quality childcare through preschool education programs. I'd like to thank Minister Schulz for listening to us and for making this funding available to ensure that all children in Alberta will have access to high-quality, affordable preschool programs. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister Schulz and Jennifer. I share your excitement about this new subsidy. It's really great news for working parents, especially working moms. I'll now turn the event over to Becca to coordinate the media requests. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. That concludes the formal remark period. We're now going to be moving to question and answer. I ask that you please limit your questions to one question and one follow-up. Just a reminder to press 1 before you begin. Operator, can you please put the first caller through?
Our first question comes from Catherine Grigowski, Alberta Today.
Yeah, thanks for taking my question. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what kind of gender-based analysis went into this decision to increase the subsidies, that threshold limit up to $90,000, as well as what gender-based analysis has been going on as you're in talks with the federal government.
Thank you so much, Catherine. First of all, we know, based on economic data, that access to high-quality, affordable childcare absolutely makes a difference for parents looking to either get back to work or take advantage of post-secondary or training opportunities. We are looking at building some more rigorous, I would say, questions and data in place as we develop our programs so that we can be very confident that the programs that we put in place are having a real difference in the lives of Albertans as they work to build our recovery. So we do know that there has been some, I would say, more broad Canadian data when it comes to the impact of childcare. We know that there have been a number of studies to suggest that it impacts not only workforce participation, but also contributes to GDP growth. We are looking at building in some of those very specific measures into our models so that we can be very confident about the impact that these investments are having here in Alberta. And we are, as I mentioned in my speaking notes, currently undergoing our negotiations with the federal government on our long-term strategy, and I hope that we have more to share on that very soon.
Catherine, did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, and when you're talking about, you use words like flexibility and choice. Can you give me some concrete examples of what that actually means in childcare?
Absolutely. So under previous models, for example, here, we had an example of a pilot program for $25 a day. What we saw there was essentially a model that selected certain centers and certain spaces that would be available for affordable, accessible, high-quality childcare for parents. But what we are finding and what we heard not only through the pilot, but also through our engagements with Albertans and, of course, in speaking with our operators and educators in childcare, preschool, and out-of-school care, is that parents need flexibility. Not every parent is looking for 9 to 5 full-time childcare. Lots of parents are working part-time. Some may be working from home. We know that preschools or part-time childcare absolutely matter to those families. We also know something that, I think was more, received more attention than even I had expected was interest in overnight care, especially in communities where we have industry or we have lots of shift-working parents. that need care for their children overnight. That is now allowed to happen in our legislation here in Alberta, and it's something that we're going to have to come up with some creative solutions for, and we do have to fund to make sure that that is also an affordable option for parents who require that type of flexibility and support. And so what we really wanted to focus on was making sure that we can increase affordability, increase access, make sure that we have high quality programming, which we know is largely driven by the educator supports like our wage top-up, and really make sure that we are supporting the parents and the choices that they are making when it comes to early learning and childcare right across Alberta.
Thank you. I just want to remind anybody that wants to jump in the queue to press 1. With that, operator, can you please go to the next caller?
Jeremy Thompson, CTV Edmonton.
Hi there. I'm just double checking you guys can hear me at the moment.
We can hear you.
Okay, good. So just on the wage top-up that's now being made available for preschool early educators, we're just wondering what more you can say about that. Is that sort of like a one-time lump sum payment, or is it sort of throughout the year? And why is it so necessary?
So this is something that we're investing now through that workforce agreement with the federal government, but is something that we hope to continue on as we work towards our long-term strategy. This was important because preschool was the one area of licensed early learning and childcare that did not receive a wage top-up for early childhood educators. We know that the impact these educators have on children is hugely important, and especially as we come out of the pandemic and the work that we're doing through the Wellbeing panel on, looking at the impacts of the pandemic on children and youth, we know that preschools are going to play an important role. We know that they help provide incredible early learning and developmental opportunities for young children. And then we also know from an operator perspective that sometimes an operator operates both an out-of-school care and a child care and a preschool, and only some of their staff are able to receive these wage top-ups. And we thought this was a great time to level the playing field, to support our workforce right across Alberta and our operators right across Alberta, but really respect the choices that parents are making. And I think I don't want to be presumptuous, but I think it might be great to hear from either Jennifer or Dina or Tristan on the impact that this will have on their staff and their educators as well.
We are one of the facilities that does have preschool and out-of-school care. It's been very difficult for years for our staff, that discrepancy between the salary top-ups. The preschool's never been allowed that. We are educators. We educate your children. We align ourselves with the kindergarten standards, and we get your children ready for going to school. This will level, like Rebecca said, the playing field for our staff.
Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think it's been, for us, I feel like a very long time coming. An early childhood educator, whether you're in a daycare or you're preschool, you're doing the same work day to day. So it was just, for us, it just felt like time, and we finally felt heard, so we're very excited about today's announcement.
Jeremy, do you have a follow-up?
I do, yeah. I'm wondering, just sort of anecdotally, I know that it can be difficult to find childcare that suits folks' needs. So I'm wondering just what sort of availability is there right now as far as daycare spaces, day homes, what have you, and how do you expect today's decision or today's announcement to impact that availability?
That's a great question. So pre-pandemic, when it came to our licensed spaces right across the province, we were at about 80% occupancy. What that really told us was that there was a discrepancy in where spaces were being created and where they were needed. So when we started looking at our space creation grants, and we announced this spring, 1,500 new spaces to be created right across Alberta, we reached out to communities to really provide the business case for why childcare or preschool was needed in their community, and that included both licensed facilities as well as day homes and overnight spaces as well. We wanted to make sure that when we're investing in space creation, that these spaces are not only where parents need them, but that they're also sustainable. And we had operators reach out to community partners, to industry, to indicate that need, and then that's where the spaces were created. Now we're at about, I think we're nearing 60% occupancy, which is positive. I think that speaks to the recovery recovery of our economy. Parents are planning to go back to work, getting ready for their choices that they're going to be making for their families in the fall. So we expect that number to continue to climb. Again, it comes down to creating spaces in areas where they're needed and making sure that we're supporting parents who need that support. And again, our investments in affordability are going to help make a difference there as well. If any parents do need assistance in finding childcare in their area, the ministry has supports for that as well, which can be found on alberta.ca.
All right, just a reminder, if you want to jump in the queue, please press *1. Operator, please go to the next caller.
Julian Latraverse, Radio Canada.
Hi, thank you. I didn't totally understand the part about the negotiation with Ottawa, and I was wondering, Minister, if you could please give us a little clarification regarding the negotiation of the child care program on a federal level in Alberta, please.
Absolutely. I mean, we were a little bit disappointed when we learned that Alberta was the only province that didn't have the term sheet and some of the basic information that we needed to get these negotiations moving ahead. We reached out to the federal government. We've worked to make sure that those negotiations are in fact underway. And I think that this announcement is really a positive step in those negotiations. We have said from the beginning that one of the things we agree with the federal government on, and we don't agree necessarily all the time, but one of the things we agree on is the importance of early learning and childcare for our economic recovery. I am optimistic. You know, we have said that we need a flexible deal that meets the needs of Alberta operators within our mixed market system, but also meets the unique needs of parents right across Alberta. And I think that this announcement and the flexibility that we're seeing in how these dollars are being invested is a really great sign for what's to come.
Julian, did you have a follow-up?
Yes, thank you. I was just wondering if it was hard to negotiate on that flexibility with Ottawa.
You know, these negotiations are underway. We reached out, letting the federal government know that we definitely wanted to be at the table. We wanted to begin these negotiations, that we do need flexibility for Alberta operators, but also for Alberta parents and families. And again, I think what we're seeing here today is a positive step in that direction.
Okay, operator, can you please go to the next caller?
Lana Michelin, Red Deer Advocate.
Hi, this is a question for Minister Schulz. I was just wondering, since BC and Nova Scotia have already signed on to the National Child Care Program, why was it easier for them to do it, and why did their negotiations presumably go much quicker? Can you address why Alberta can't just at least commit itself to joining the National Child Care Program?
You know, I think in terms of the order of provinces signing agreements, that would be an excellent question for the federal government. What I can tell you is that negotiations are underway. We know that we need flexibility to meet the unique needs of our province. Every province across the country has a different market, and their parents have different and unique needs. Alberta is not the only province that is looking for flexibility when it comes to this long-term strategy and plan. Again, you know, last week's announcement, today's announcement, these are great first steps. They show our commitment to affordable, high-quality, accessible childcare. We know that this matters for our economic recovery, but we also know that we need the flexibility to meet the unique needs of our parents and our operators, and we're going to continue to make sure that that happens.
Lana, did you have a follow-up?
Yes, please. Do you have any sort of timeline as to like how many years or months or whatever it'll take? Do you have any sort of goal as to when you'd like to join the program?
You know, those negotiations are underway. When it comes to the timelines, again, you know, the federal government, I know that there is a lot at play right now, but I am happy to say that we are at the table. We are ready to negotiate. And again, we're just looking for, you know, similar flexibility that other provinces are looking for as well.
Operator, can we please go to the next caller?
Alana Smith, Canadian Press.
Hi there. Thanks for taking my question. It's a bit of a follow-up from the previous question, but I'm wondering if you could outline some specific concerns that Alberta has in joining the National $10 Day Child Care Program.
again, for us here in Alberta, it was that there was some mixed messages coming out at the beginning. Now that we've got our term sheet and the basics for our negotiations, we are encouraged. We are very much optimistic about coming to an agreement, but some of the flexibility we're looking at, originally some of the discussions were around only supporting not-for-profit organizations. The difficulty is that, close to 70% of licensed operators here in Alberta are in fact private operators. And so we want to make sure that we are able to support our operators and our families right across the province and from 0 to 12. We had heard some focus on 0 to 6. Now we're feeling very optimistic. We've been able to support preschool, out-of-school care, as well as childcare subsidies for those aged 0 to 6. Again, we're just looking for the flexibility that we need to meet our unique needs of our parents and our mixed market system here in Alberta.
Alana, do you have a follow-up?
Sure. Maybe just on the flip side of that, I know you spoke a little bit there to concerns, but what are some of the positives of this program that are, keeping Alberta interested in joining?
Yeah, and as I said before, while there may be things that I disagree with the federal government on, the one thing that we do definitely agree on is the importance of access to high quality, safe, affordable childcare for those who need it. And, we want to make sure that, however we design this program, we have the flexibility to make sure that, first of all, the parents who really need the supports are able to access those supports. And secondly, that we are supporting the wide variety of choices that parents are making, from preschool to out of school care to full day childcare to overnight childcare, and making sure that we're supporting not only parents and operators in the larger centers, but meeting the unique needs of rural Albertans as well.
All right, we have time for one last question. Operator, can you please put the last caller in?
Liam Verster, Everything GP.
Good morning there. So with the directing the $45 million, this is all coming from that $290 million that was announced last week, correct? So with $45 million every year, and then these wage top-ups, it still leaves close to $100 million. So where is that money being directed to?
That's an excellent question. So last week's announcement really spoke to two things. One was the renewed bilateral agreement with the federal government, and that's the $45 million investment that we're largely directing towards subsidies, expanding the subsidy from an income threshold of $75,000 to $90,000, and making sure that parents accessing preschool have access to those subsidies as well. The other piece is a $56 million investment in supporting our early childhood educator workforce. This is hugely important, especially as we come out of the pandemic. We want to be able to support recruitment, retention, but also professional development opportunities for our early childhood educators right across the province. And so, given we just signed the agreement last week, more details on those specifics around the workforce funding especially are to come hopefully in the coming days and weeks.
Liam, do you have a follow-up?
Okay, so am I to understand then that the $25 a day daycare program is not being extended then?
The $25 a day program was concluded at the end of March. That has really allowed us to take a pilot program, to be fair, where select centers and select parents had access to affordability supports. And now we're investing that in our subsidy program right across the province so that all parents making up to that threshold of $90,000 in any center or space or community of their choosing have access to those affordable spaces.
This concludes our announcement for today. Thank you, everybody, for calling in and being here with us.
Thank you so much.